You're listening to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
And we are back with more true crime.
What's up? Yeah, she loves those when I do stupid shit like that.
Yeah, I don't. But thanks to those who support us on Patreon.
Yeah.
And if you're not following our Facebook page, go check out Mountain Murders. It is poppin' over there.
It is a fun evening there at Mountain Murders.
Yeah, we have a lot of engagement from our fans and followers. A lot of interesting conversation happening over there.
Yes, some
so
real true crime fans there to be found at Mountain Murders.
You can also find Mountain Murders Podcast on Instagram. And if you look for us on Twitter, we are Mountain Murders. And if you feel so inclined to make a donation on Patreon, it's simple, it's billed monthly, and we'll give you a shout out on the show, plus some other perks, bonus content.
Yeah, and we put a lot of some things that flesh out the stories we tell as far as the pictures and articles, and actually full-blown episodes as well.
That's right. As a matter of fact, we put together a Satanic Panic episode and released that over the weekend for our Patreon patrons exclusively. But we decided we liked the episode so much that we wanted to share it with the rest of you. So now you can go find the Satanic Panic episode. It's kind of a companion piece to the Kentucky Vampire Cult. And we grew up in the 80s and in the 90s, and so we vividly remember the Satanic Panic. So it's kind of interesting to delve into that, get the backstory, and kind of understand, like, why that was such a big story.
Yeah, that's a lot of our bonus episodes, or some of them, on Patreon are what we consider companion pieces to the story we just recorded. And we have all this other stuff in us, maybe some side notes or, a particular thing that we give more details about. And we call that Mountain Murders Afterthoughts. Yay! But yeah, some of those go pretty well with the case that you have already heard in the public. Check that out.
Well, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do this. This is a crazy story that I think people have heard of, cases like this time and again. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and as a parent, and I'm sure we have a lot of fans who are listening in that have children, probably even teenage children, and this can be really scary and frightening.
It is.
Living in strange times. This is a good story. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be bumpy. This story takes place in Star City, West Virginia. And Star City, I had to do a little research to try to figure out where exactly that was. I was not totally familiar with Star City, but it's located in the Morgantown metropolitan area, which is up near the Pennsylvania border. So think like northeast West Virginia.
Okay.
And the story starts with 16-year-old Skylar Neese, and she was thriving, as the kids say.
Hey.
Yeah, my daughter constantly will ask Dylan, are you thriving today?
Or if I'm slaying.
Yeah, are you thriving? Well, those are kind of interchangeable. Are you thriving or are you slaying?
Yes, she should be a life coach, because there's been times when I was doing neither. But after I talked to Bella for like 5 minutes, even texting or over the phone, at the end of it, I am slaying. Full-blown slaying. Pull up in front of the club and just take over shit.
You're a slay queen.
Yeah, I know. So,
you're like the Beyonce of like middle-aged dad types.
Yeah, so she should be a life coach.
I agree with that. I've told her that as well. Skylar Neese, thriving. Thriving like you are, Dylan. She's ready to roll up at the club. She's having a grand time.
Okay, so she's killing it.
She is. She's a great student. She has a 4.0 GPA, a part-time job at Wendy's fast food restaurant, and a pretty active social life.
Okay, it sounds like she's handling her business there to me.
Well, as an only child, Skylar was definitely her parents' pride and joy. A lot of only children understand what that means. You're the center of attention. You're doted upon, showered with lots of support, attention. So Skylar was no exception.
Not good at sharing things?
Why are you looking at me like that?
It's not you in particular. It's just all the other only kids I knew.
Yeah, I know what that means.
Okay.
From the age of 8, Skylar had befriended a girl, Sheila Eddy, and they were best friends, inseparable. So much so that Skylar's parents considered Sheila to be part of the family. Sheila lived with her single mom, so having this 2-parent household to hang out in was pretty nice. She was over there most weekends, went on family vacations with these guys. They really considered her to be like their second daughter. And you're a father of teenage girls, and you've had a boy as well, so you kind of understand what that means to have that extra kid around the house that's like part of the family.
Oh yeah, I've done it with both my son and my oldest daughter, and they're just over. It starts out, it's every other weekend, then it's kind of stay, and then next thing you know, you're taking them to school, picking them up from school, and it's never bothered me. I don't mind an extra kid or two around, especially when that typically happens. It seems like maybe they're just more comfortable at your house than maybe at their house wherever they stay, and if that's the case, then I could always take on an extra 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in 2010, the pair entered high school, and up until this point, Sheila Eddy had attended a different high school, or a different school, but the two had remained best friends. So even though they weren't in the same school, they would see each other on weekends, every opportunity. They were hanging out, evenings.
So they've
doing
been
the summers together.
Friends for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, they grew up together.
Okay.
Well, Sheila Eddy transferred to this new high school where Skylar was a student. And it was there that Sheila befriended a girl named Rachel Schoaf. Well, as they say, three's a crowd, and that's true. This trio of girlfriends started having problems.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I can say, I mean, as a girl, I remember being in situations like this. I mean, I think girls' relationships can be kind of tricky anyway. We're very sensitive, especially as a teenager. You're hormonal. You might take things the wrong way. There can be a lot of jealousy, insecurity, that kind of thing. And especially when it comes to a situation like this. You've got your best friend. You've grown up together. You love your best friend. She meets a new person. And now all of a sudden she's interested in this new person.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you've literally grown up with someone and counted on them as being your best friend all these years, and now you're going into high school, and you're probably nervous and all that. Now you get to go to school with them, so you're happy about that. And then, boom, there's this other person. And now they're all of a sudden, well, I'm not going to hang out with you because I'm going to go do this with such and such.
Yeah, and you're vying for your best friend's attention.
Right.
You have to share your friend with this other person. It can just create a lot of drama.
It can.
It seems a lot of these arguments happened in vague Twitter posts.
Well, that always helps any situation.
Yeah. Well, in one post, Skylar said, "You're a two-faced bitch and obviously fucking stupid if you thought I wouldn't find out."
Well, that's actually not very vague.
Right? But it's probably one of those situations where these other two friends are like, is she talking about us?
Yeah. Or is it that other two-faced bitch?
Yeah. I mean, it's vague, but...
They don't mention you in name, but... Yeah, you know how that goes.
And in another post, she said, "Too bad my friends are having lives without me." So that kind of indicated that Skylar felt left out by the friendship shared between Rachel and Sheila.
Yeah, it seems that way.
As I mentioned, Skylar was a good student. She was a popular girl. She had a job, great grades. She was a good girl, by all accounts. But Sheila was kind of a bit more wilder, free-spirited. That's a euphemism we can use. I mean, from what I understand, I think Sheila was experimenting sexually with boys. She was, partying a bit, using drugs, sneaking out of the house, doing things like that.
Well, that's what we called a fun time girl when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You'll have a fun time if you go out with this girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, so I'm not going to say Sheila was a fun time girl, but maybe she was just a free spirit.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that Sheila was that. Oh, just to be clear, I was just thought it was the perfect moment to talk about a euphemism we use for very smart, intelligent, chastised girls as I was growing up.
Yeah, well, Rachel came from a very strict Catholic upbringing.
No.
And so her parents, I think they were divorced as well, but, her mom, her dad, they were pretty strict on her. So she seemed to idolize the freedom that Sheila exhibited. So if Sheila's kind of the bad girl, Rachel's sort of in awe of this friend who's doing all these things that she can't be doing or wants to do but can't.
Yeah, she could probably only dream of doing anything that girl's doing as far as in her eyes.
So at one point, Skylar and Sheila were fighting. This is just kind of an example of what was happening between the two. And Rachel was on the other end listening in. Skylar had no idea that Sheila had her on this three-way call. But there were other people at school who were listening in and knew that, this was happening. There was a fight, that Rachel was like on this call. She's like laughing about it with other people.
Yeah.
So it's those little deceptions that really started to add up.
Well, yeah, I could understand. I would, as an adult, be mad about that. If I was having a heated discussion with someone, I didn't know someone else was listening. That would bug me.
July 2012. This one particular evening, July 5th, Skylar Neese went home after finishing a work shift, and it seemed like a relatively normal night for the teenager. But by morning, her dad discovered she had slipped out of the house. Her bed was still made, her window screen was in her closet, and there was a bench that she had used to climb out of her window. So Dad finds this scene, immediately starts to worry, knows his daughter was sneaking out and she hasn't come back, which was not like her.
Yeah, I would be out of my mind. I would be totally scared right off the ends.
Most parents would, and especially, I think most of us are pretty in tune with our kids. We know they're not saints, but we also kind of know if they are doing some bad things sometimes.
Yeah, when they do something that's totally out of character for them, as far as your view of them as a parent, then that's when you really get scared, mad.
Right, if
but
your child
truly scared.
doesn't have a habit of sneaking out of the house, it's never happened before.
Right, or not calling home or checking in when you say they should.
And then they don't show up the next morning, they're still not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be panicked as well. She also missed work for the first time on this day. She was a no-call, no-show, which was, again, very out of character for her. Her manager's calling, hey, what's going on with Skylar?
Another red flag.
Yeah, her parents were frantic with worry, and they immediately called the police to make a report. Fortunately, there was an officer assigned to the missing persons case who took the call seriously. A lot of time in these cases, especially with teenagers, if they sneak out and they're gone, there's maybe they ran away. They're probably just at a friend's house. A lot of times it gets dismissed.
Yeah, and you see that a lot, like you said, more times than not. And it's so frustrating, as I could imagine, as a parent or a friend saying they've never done this. They've never missed a date, or they're always on time. Or when someone's just that way always, it's in their character. And when they don't do that or never miss a day of work for 4 years, and now they have, that's very frustrating to have someone else like, well, maybe they ran away or blah, blah, blah.
Right. So I think the family was very lucky in that this officer was interested in finding out what was going on and took the case seriously and immediately kind of launches a search where they find this missing girl. Because
there's typically 2 or 3, they make you wait, I've heard 2 days to a week before there's like, okay, maybe they're really missing.
I think they were trying to call her cell phone and it was immediately going to voicemail. Like it was dead or turned off. They just couldn't get her. At some point, Sheila Eddy called the Neese family to tell them what had happened. Sheila confessed that the teens, including Skylar and Rachel, had spent the evening driving around town getting high. They said they dropped Skylar off at the end of the road because Skylar was afraid she'd get caught and didn't want to wake her parents up. Sheila said that they picked up Skylar around 11 p.m. and they dropped her off just before midnight. Essentially, she's kind of giving this time frame of they were maybe driving around less than an hour, probably 45 minutes, just getting high, smoking some pot.
Yeah, they probably forgot how long they were driving.
Well, there's a surveillance camera that showed Skylar sneaking out of her room around 12:35 a.m. and the car pulled up around 12:30. Sheila's giving a time frame that was like an hour and a half off. Which, okay, I can understand. Teenagers, probably not the most responsible, not paying attention to the time.
Well, yeah, you might not I'm making a note. It was 12 o'clock when I picked you're just getting your friend. She's sneaking out.
Yeah, she's just kind of guesstimating.
Yeah, that could be.
So by the 7th, which would have been, almost 2 days later, the whole neighborhood was involved in canvassing and forming search parties, and Sheila Eddy and her mom were part of the crew combing the area. Rachel Shoaf left on this day to attend summer camp for 2 weeks. And as time passed, police thought maybe Skylar had gone to a house party where she likely overdosed. There was a rumor that was spreading throughout town that Skylar had gone to this party, overdosed on heroin, and that kids panicked and disposed of her body.
That's a hell of a rumor, honestly.